set it as a prize. Then they took FDA data about nutrition and opened up the data set and said, we're going to give a prize to anyone who can develop an app that leverages nutritional data towards something fun for kids, right? There's a couple components about this I love. First off, it involves Michelle Obama. Enough said. Second, the fact that the government is actually opening up data for entrepreneurs, young people, old, young, whoever, to actually innovate on is a really nice move for the government to see that data is something that's a national resource and that we should be leveraging those data sets to human good, not simply holding on to them and protecting them, right? That they're actually assets to share. And third, that this one was specifically targeted at trying to get young people to see themselves as app developers and app producers, which is great. So that was back in 2010. First family games, right? That is a game. That's December 2011. There he is. I love this picture. President of the United States buying a game. So while I just said that, kids spend a lot of time on video game media, in fact, it's about an hour and a half on average per day, which, by the way, homework is about 53 minutes per average day, so games are 1.5 times. So while the typical American household children spend that long on games, so does the president and his children, okay? They're not different. Now, if you look at Obama's innovation strategy, you'll find that games or game technologies actually intersect at multiple levels, all the way up to addressing grand challenges of the 21st century, down to educating the next generation for 21st century skills. Let me give you some examples. So some of the things I worked on are, for example, one of the grand challenges is energy consumption in the home. So how do you figure out how to reduce energy consumption across an entire nation without having to legislate a new policy that gets you somehow in trouble if you don't turn the dang lights off when you leave the room, right? So you're trying to figure out how do you get an entire population to change their energy consumption patterns in their home without having to be top-down heavy on it, right? Well, games are a really interesting way to think about that. How many of you would ever think, do you believe me? That seems like a weird statement, doesn't it? How do you get people to turn the lights off nationally? Video games. I should have just made you pause there. So here's an example of how. So it turns out that they're rolling out the new smart grid system. So you know what that is? Smart grid system is where your meter actually starts to tell you more than just one number per month or however many months of what you consume in terms of energy. In fact, it can start to tell you what you consume per day. It can tell you when your peak energy consumption hours are. Suddenly you have data on your home's energy consumption patterns, right? Well, it turns out that through some savvy use of game mechanics, you can start to significantly move the needle on people's behaviors through basic game mechanics. Here's one. It turns out that if you share different pieces of information at the right times with people, they dramatically start lowering their energy. Like, for example, comparing their averages to their neighbors, or comparing their average to their rival basketball team, or comparing their village to the next village over. It turns out that people naturally go, ooh, I'm totally going to get better than that. I can beat that, right? And you end up being able to significantly reduce energy consumption patterns, not through this top-down hammer of policy with a big P, but through this tiny little incentive system that makes it interesting or fun or in some way engages people in behavior change. And they never even think that they're engaging in behavior change. Make sense? So that's an example of how games can impact something like